So you're in a job search and you're not getting any phone calls or interviews. You are in a black hole. It's actually what the career field calls a black hole syndrome. So you may be thinking, well, my resume's crap. Or you may be thinking, I don't have the right degree, or I've been in the same company for too long, or I'm too old, or you have to know somebody in order to get into the right company and I don't have the right network. Or perhaps even, I don't know where to begin. Well, there's actually one solution to all of these challenges. And these are all external factors, by the way. But there's one solution that overcomes all of these challenges. This one thing actually has enabled one of our clients to go from a $175,000 position to $750,000 position. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a bit. And then another client actually used this technique to get a job in 4 days when he had been unemployed for 2.5 years before coming to us. So in this video, I'm going to explain what that one thing is and how you can put it to work for your job search. Hey there, Tammy Kabell with Career Resume Consulting, and this one thing that I'm going to tell you about is it's the reason that the employers and recruiters aren't calling you, and it's a little something that's called personal branding. You may have heard about personal branding, but you may not know what it is. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you what personal branding is, how to put it to use for you, and what it can do for you, and more importantly, what it can do to you. Let me first explain what personal branding is. So it's how you write your materials, like your written materials, like your resumes and your cover letters, and also your online presence, like your LinkedIn profile. You know, most likely you're writing your written materials and these things like your online profile, like a history textbook. You're documenting what you've done in your career. So your resume is probably written chronologically, starting with your most recent job, going backwards. Am I right? So instead, if you use a personal branding approach, what you're doing is actually writing persuasively rather than academically. So instead of writing and documenting the things that you've done, you're writing it like you would a sales page. You're writing it with the intention of persuading some action, actually getting someone to take action rather than just documenting your experience. And it all comes down to selling yourself. You are the product or service that you're selling in a job search, and you are the salesperson. So you've got to write persuasively rather than just like a history textbook. One thing to keep in mind is that you control the perception that people have about you before they meet you. And that means that it's the first impression that you're going after. You really want to create a stellar first impression. That first impression, according to studies, is usually on either a resume or your LinkedIn profile. It's gained in the first 6 seconds that someone's looking at your credentials. So you have to make sure that first impression is exactly the way that you want to be perceived so that you control that first impression. Now remember, a first impression sticks with somebody 66% of the time. In other words, only 1/3 of the time will they ever change that first impression about you. After they've looked at your stuff for the first 6 seconds, they already have an opinion about you. And what they're doing after that 6 seconds is what psychology and marketing calls confirmation bias. What they're doing is looking for things to confirm that first impression. In other words, if they have a bad impression about you, they're looking for things to confirm that bad impression. If they have a great impression about you, they're looking for things that will confirm that great impression. That's why a first impression is so very important in a job search or really any kind of social interaction whatsoever. So you want to create a first impression that shows that you can easily walk into your next position, even if that position is something that you've never done before, that you could walk into it and do that job with your eyes closed. That's the kind of first impression that you're wanting to create. So the first thing that a great first impression will do, or a personal brand will do, is allow you to make a big move up in your career. This allowed one of our clients to go from Visa to Google and go from around $175,000, this is a different client, to I believe $677,000 when he went into Google. A big move up in his career in one leap. So the second thing that a personal brand will do for you is quicken the amount of time that it takes to go from one position to your perfect position. And it usually takes, if you're looking for a multiple six-figure position, it usually takes about 12 to 18 months to get a new position. And if you're over 50, it takes 18 to 24 months. However, with a great personal brand, we've been able to bring that down to just a few weeks up to a few months. So that literally means tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars of realized income because you've been able to quicken the amount of time that it takes to get you your new job. And all of these things are great, but the most important thing that a personal brand can do for you is actually what it does to you. Let me give you an example. So one of my all-time favorite clients is someone who was, she was a VP of IT for a large organization. And of course, she defined herself as being an IT executive. She was, again, making around I believe she was making around $125,000 in salary plus a $50,000 bonus. So again, around $175,000. And in going through a very exhaustive branding process with me, I realized, and I broke it to her, that in fact, she was not an IT executive, she was in sales. Now, she came to me and said, I have no idea what a salesperson does. I don't think I'm in sales, I'm in IT. And I said, no, let me show you some job descriptions about what a superstar salesperson does. She looked at those job descriptions and she said, that's exactly what I love doing best about my job. I guess I am in sales. So we branded her as a sales superstar with her approval, of course. So very quickly, she was able to get into Microsoft selling enterprise-wide software. And in her first year, because she was a sales superstar and I saw her that way and she saw herself that way, she made $750,000 that first year. So that's what a new brand, a new definition of yourself can do for not only your perception of yourself, but your entire career, for the rest of your career. So here's where I want to step back for a moment and talk about a personal transformation. Because when our clients go through the branding exercises that we put them through, it is very, like I said, it's a very exhaustive process. Sometimes it can be really uncomfortable, but it is a fundamental change in the way that they perceive themselves and their value in the marketplace, their value in what they've been able to do for the companies that they've worked for. They really have a fundamental transformation in the way they see themselves. Because what we create essentially is likened to a rite of passage. Now, you're probably familiar with rites of passage in different cultures. I promise I won't get too woo-woo on you here, but we are talking about personal transformation. So a rite of passage is usually defined by some sort of intense, possibly uncomfortable type of process where there's a true demarcation between a before and an after version of a person. In other words, sometimes the rite of passage is like a vision quest, where you go off into the wilderness for 4 or 5 days, you come back a completely changed person, a different person. Or sometimes in different cultures, there are rites of passage to demarcate between you as a child and you as an adult. As a matter of fact, sometimes, many times, after that rite of passage, the person is called a new name. For instance, when they become an adult, they have an adult name versus their childhood name. So in our personal transformation, think of the different name that you have as the different job title that you see up at the top of your resume. Now, if you want to see one of these persuasively written, personal branded resumes, I'm going to put the link underneath so that you can sign up and get one of these emailed to you. I'd love for you to take a look at one. But think of this different name up at the top of your resume as perhaps something that you've never done before. Maybe you're wanting to make a big move up in your career, let's say from a VP to a COO, a Chief Operating Officer. You can have Chief Operating Officer at the top of your resume, even though you've never held that position before. But once you go through an exhaustive branding process where you know your worth, you know that you can step into that COO position and do that very successfully, it creates a very clear path for both you and the employer that's looking to hire you. It's very, very apparent that you can walk into that and be very successful in that new career. So, my question to you in ending this video is, what do you want to be after your personal transformation? In other words, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would love to see it in the comments below. Please put what you would like to do when you grow up in the comments below. And I hope this has helped you see yourself in a slightly different way, perhaps opening up some opportunities for you that you didn't think of. And until I see you again, I look forward to hearing about your success. This has been Tammy Kabell with Career Resume Consulting. Bye now.